Welcome to the Foxhole, guys. I'm Nandor Fox Shaffer, and we're here for session 3 of the Comic Book Writers Room. So, this is a experimental kind of live stream idea that I've been playing around with the last couple weeks, and it's been a lot of fun so far. And I'd love to keep doing these, but just to kind of give the viewers and everyone watching the idea of what the stream's about, because there were some questions last stream I noticed while we were working. People were like, "We can't hear you," and there was no noise or communications going on, and it's because we were working. So this is basically a work stream, a comic book writers work stream, where comic book writers on all levels, and all experiences come together, and they set aside time to work on their craft and work on their particular stories. And what's cool about that is it's a way that I think we're always trying to find time as writers to get work done. And with live streams in general, you usually see artists, doing live drawing, and you can see their progress. And so, what the comic book writers room is something where we can see the progress of writers and see the projects they're working on and see how they're progressing through those things. And I've been working on character designs the last few weeks, and tonight I'm going to be actually scripting and writing. So I actually had some progress there the last couple of weeks. So if you're a comic book writer and you're watching this, or you want to come on board with us, you can work with us and work together. And any topics, any things that come up while you're writing, or if there's a question about character development or story structure or things like that you've always been interested in, or you want to hear other writers' opinions on, that's what this stream's all about. It's a stream about comic book writers getting work done and showing that work getting done. And so we're gonna introduce our other guests here, and we got Aaron and Frank. What's up, guys? How's it going?
Hello.
I'm back.
Yeah, Aaron's back. You liked it enough to come back, Aaron. So thank you so much.
I had to get work done at some point.
Yeah, that's right. And this is Frank's first time on the show. Thanks for coming on, Frank. Great to have you.
I wanted to make it before, but I was in a hotel and with 3 kids and 2 dogs, so it was not.
Nope.
Yeah, not ideal. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, thanks for coming on, and since it's the first time on your on the show here, usually what we do is we have a person kind of talk about how long they've been writing comics, or what made them interested in writing comics, and different projects that they've published or funded. And this is also a place where we can talk about current projects that we're working on. And I know you have a current Kickstarter going on right now, The Last Homicide, that looks really cool, and we can definitely talk about that.
I didn't even know you were on Kickstarter again, Frank. My
it's
bad.
Like every 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, man, you're cranking them out, and that's awesome. I love seeing that.
Well, that's the weird thing about being a comic writer is the script I wrote for the thing that's on Kickstarter now, I wrote 7 years ago, because everything takes long. Everything takes long. So it's some stuff is bang bang, I'll write the script and then the book is done in 3 months, and other times it's done in 3 decades. It's just weird thing.
No, I know what you're talking about. So season volume 2 is going to be coming out this summer, and I wrote that a couple of years ago, about 5-6 years ago. And so for having it coming out now, it feels like I'm a different person, and I'm like, who was that guy who wrote that half a decade ago? So I get that. It's
I wrote this novel. It was my first big novel. I was a freshman in high school or something, and I was like, this is gonna be my magnum opus. It's phenomenal. And then every 2 or 3 years, I would go back to it and be like, who is this asshole? I'm such a better writer now. And that was just a cycle that happened every 2 to 3 years, where I would just rewrite it. And it's now, so I guess I finally reached the point where I was like, screw it, I'm just going to put it out there. But yeah, it's funny how you look back on things that you've written in the past when you think you're a know-it-all and you're so phenomenal, and you're like, I know nothing.
Right.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I've kind of noticed what's interesting is I've been, of course, like I really do believe that the script in the comic really isn't done until like right before it goes to the printer. It's like you can edit it throughout all that time. As much as you can with your letterer or your the person who's working on the letters there, and but I'm kind of glad it's taken this long for this next book of mine to come out, because I've been editing it the last year or two as I've been getting pages and art, and I'm like, yeah, I need to change that or make that, or I think this would be cool if this would be better here, because I didn't account for maybe how the art was portraying that scene, as dramatically and stuff like that. So I think that's one good thing that we have, where we can always tweak it just right before it goes to the printer, so it like you have enough time.
One of the things that really leveled up my comic creating was lettering my own stuff, because it's like I'm reading the proof, the final proof that it's it. I'm ready to print it. I'm just reading it one last time, and if I don't like something, I'm just going to go back and change it. I don't have to email the letterer. And also when I'm writing a script, I'm like, when I'm lettering, I'll just chop all this dialogue up and trim it down. So I get lazy when I'm doing script writing, because as lettering, I really feel like I get to put the final touches on the work, and I don't have to.
Yeah,
it's funny you say that, because I'm literally lettering the last book I'm ever going to letter.
Really?
I have 2 pages left, and I've already told the co-owner, I was like, I'm done after this. He was like, that's cool, because I'm done coloring books after this too. And I'm like, all right.
I mean, I don't consider myself a letterer, because I've seen what they do, that professional letterers do, and they do some phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just good enough to have passable lettering.
Dude, same.
But it's just good enough to be legible and make sense.
As long as I can pick it up and put it next to another comic and be like, okay, well, it's not that bad, then I'm good.
That's it. But like, I'm a visual idiot. Like I have no visual design skills whatsoever. So sound effects are like my kryptonite. When I write a script, I'm like, do I really want to put a sound effect in there, because I don't want to letter it?
Yeah. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I can. And sound effects are weird. Like we've been going through sound effects and certain, and I'm not particularly like fond of them a lot of the time, because I don't know, I don't like it covering up the art too much, and it's always interesting to try to figure out like how is this supposed to be written, like this action, it's like I'll write it down and I'm like, that looks so weird. It's like, Shrek or like crunch or like crash, and so yeah, sound effects are that's one tricky thing about comics I've noticed that I hadn't really thought about, but how important they can be to like emphasizing a scene.
I like getting those artists like we did on Welcome to Everville. The sound effects for like the monster and stuff is built into the background of the art. So it's not, it's not a visual dialogue. It's more just built into the art. And that always, I think it's cool, because it kind of just throws you into that moment a little bit more.
Yeah. Sound effects, one of those weird things when you're reading a book, you pass over it in a split second. You don't really think about it. But when you're writing the book, you're like, what should this sound like? Should this even be here? Like, maybe I should, you put so much thought
gun. Like if you're doing a scene and in the scene you see the muzzle flash and like the bullet going through somebody, then it's like, okay, if I'm gonna time this out, like which one of these sound effects is more important?
I took a picture of remember what it was, because it was for the Top Cow Talent Hunt. I was reading a darkness book, and what's the main character's name? Who plays the darkness? He's got like the main guy.
But which one?
The
current main guy?
No, the one from the very beginning.
Oh God,
what was his name? He's got like some fancy Italian name.
Jackie.
Jackie. Yes, he's doing some hit or something, and he's shooting a guy with a silencer, and they put some big sound effects there. I'm like, that fucking defeats the purpose.
Kaboom!
Yeah.
I don't think the silencer worked.
Picture of it and put it online because it's like, this is the loudest silencer I've ever seen.
Yeah,
awesome.
I was just reading this morning. I read Rorschach #6 that just came out recently, and there was a scene, and you see this a lot in comics, but I noticed it in this particular issue where I really like those shots where you have the character, shooting a gun, kind of like what you were saying, Aaron, but like you're shooting the gun and the words, is like the image. So like you see the character in the letters there, like you were saying, and it says blam, and it's like you see the fire, the shot being fired, and I was like, that's just a really, like, that's comics, it's like that's how you do it, and I was like, that's really cool, and it was a phenomenal issue, by the way. Like I don't know if you guys have been reading Rorschach, but like it's really well written.
I'm so spotty on the stuff I read. I read a lot of indie now, but I did read Magic this week from Boom Studios.
How was it?
Oh yeah,
It was pretty good. I mean, I'm a Magic fan, so like,
Gotcha.
I'm predisposed to like it,
They tied it
I think that makes you predisposed to hate it. Pretty sure.
Oh yeah,
that's how it works.
Well, I mean, it's set during one of my favorite time periods in the card game, like with the Ravnica stuff. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what you're doing. And it's the most basic plot that everything's ever done, where it's just like all their Planeswalker characters are being hunted. Like it's been done like 20 million times, but it's in Magic. So it's like, oh, it's in Magic though.
Yeah, I have this I have this one convention story where it wasn't Magic, but it was Hearthstone, and I was at this convention and I was selling my books there, and the guy next to me was like a Hearthstone artist. He had done like a ton of art for the cards and for the card game and all that, and really nice guy. I got to talk with him and stuff, and he was really cool, but it was awful for me because everyone passed by my booth because they just wanted to go see the Hearthstone artist, and I was like, "Oh man, like you're killing my sales here, dude." but he was really good, like he deserved it. But I was just like, this sucks, like being right next to you. But like you're awesome.
I'll tell you, where I am in North Carolina, cons are so weird. Well, when we had cons, they were so weird. Like even they would bring in like famous comic book artists, but nobody wants that in our cons. It's all about stars and cosplay. And
wow.
And so we would be sitting in our little booth across the aisle from, like Mike King or like bigger names in comic books, and it's like, well, they have no line either. No one's coming and talking to them. I guess we're doing all right.
Yeah.
I always wanted to write the Magic the Gathering, all the quotes in the bottom or the little snippets. That's what
yeah, those are so cool.
I want to get that gig.
I would do it. I don't care.
That has to be a fun gig, yeah.
Yeah. Just random lore stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how they keep track of all that or what they think is,
I'm sure there's some insane database somewhere.
Yeah.
Someone's probably got their plot Bible, with 30 or 40 different type of color tabs on it.
Yeah.
So this is all the red card stuff, and this is cross-reference with all the goblin stuff, and this is, oh my god, this is the gold stuff, and who has the sliver Bible?
This is a
go ahead.
Thought, but you guys watch the show This Is Us on NBC?
I do not.
No, I haven't.
I've seen some of it, but I haven't watched it consistently.
So the way it works is they basically follow a family, and through like different generations, different time periods, and every episode they're jumping back and forth between so many different time periods. They're their first date, to the time they broke up, the time they had this kid, the time that this kid did this kid. And I'm like, after 4 seasons of every episode taking place at a different spot in the timeline, they must have in their writer's room, they must have a big timeline of which every episode, every single little thing, because they reference it all. I'm like, this is crazy to keep track of. I've never seen a show like that.
I don't know if you guys like listen to podcasts as religiously as I do, but I like to listen to like the writers, for instance, like The Good Place, that television show. They had this podcast that came out that was just one of the guys interviewing whoever it was from the show at the time. So he would bring in writers and they would talk about what it's like in the writer's room. And that's the stuff that I was like, okay, well, this is dope. Like, to learn their process of how a group of people all come up with these plots together, keep track of it. Different director every episode, but they still have to fill this continuity and stuff. I was like, man, this is good stuff for like anyone that's creative to learn. So I indulge quite a bit on that kind of stuff. NBC's done that with all their shows too. So
I had a cool conversation with Don Hanfield once. He's from Scout Comics and he writes for TV and stuff. So when he did his book Unicorn on Kickstarter, he had advertised it. It's like it's either going to be 60 pages or like 110 pages. And I said, how do you not know how long your book is going to be? And he says, well, because we're TV writers, we're trained to basically get the plot points, and then everything else in the middle is just an accordion, depending on how long you need to make the episode.
Or they would have random ideas and stick it on a board and revisit it like 7 seasons in.
Yeah, so he said that's kind of how our mind operates. He says, if I launch a Kickstarter, I will never do that again. I will finish the book and then go for it. But he had such a big approximate page count for his book because that's how he was planning it out. Meanwhile, when I write, I write as mainly like a prose writer. So everything is outlined like a chapter, everything. I can't start until I know exactly where everything is going to be and fit.
Yeah. It's kind of like what I'm working on right now. I'm revising an outline for a new series we're releasing in January. So I've got to nail down this first arc to make sure it flows nicely into the arc after that, which is like the first big story arc after introducing the character. So it should be should work a little better now. I've had a chance to go back and after outlining that section, come back and fix some narrative decisions in there.
Do you guys like to chill? Actually, I don't know if I should just wait and talk about this later because I don't want to like throw stuff off, but I'll write it down for later.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if you guys have any, topics, questions, things you want to talk about, we'll get into those for sure.
Outlines is when the comic writing process stops being fun. Like when you're done with the outline, because you're not like, yeah, I plotted it all out. I know exactly what's going to happen. Now I actually have to
script it.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Now we need to do the actual work.
One of my favorite things though is not the scripting part, but dialogue is one of my favorite parts of writing comics.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. I want to be like what's his name? Patterson, the author who co-authored his books. He just outlines them and sends it to somebody else. Write the damn thing.
How do I get that ghostwriting gig though? Let James Patterson send me just a random outline. I'll make this something.
I remember seeing a 60 Minutes with him, and they go into his office, and he just has filing cabinets of just outlines. Nuts.
I mean, look at his career though.
No, God bless him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually that's I work at a bookstore, so I see his books all the time. It's like he comes out with a new book or his name's on a new book. Yeah, like every 2 weeks, every month, it's like, and I'm just like, whoa, like this guy, you're making everyone look bad, but then I can be like, well, you're not actually doing the work, James.
He wrote a book with like Obama or something, right?
I don't even know what he's doing anymore.
I think he did that. He did the one with Clinton.
Clinton, that's who it was. Yeah, he wrote a book with Clinton. So I want to know who did that work.
Random. He's been writing too long. Now it's just like, Clinton.
Yeah, he's just like, okay, this one's been on the back burner for a while.
Yeah, I can only carry Alex Cross through so many. Yeah, that's deep cut right there. Alex Cross. It's a good character.
Well, hey, yeah, we'll get to writing here soon. Real quick, since this is Frank's first time on the writer's room. Thanks for coming on, dude. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, like how long you've been writing comics.
Let me introduce myself 20 minutes in after everyone's like, this asshole who thinks he's talking about.
Hey, be super pretentious about it too.
Yeah, be like, I am.
You don't know me?
Wait,
drop a lot of names. Drop a lot of names too. Don't
I
forget.
thought I was the new pretentious guy. Aren't I the new pretentious guy? Aren't I the guy who
You'll
doesn't
have
know what
your
he's doing?
chance.
Yet? Oh man, I thought I was the asshole today. I'm good at that role, damn it.
I'm Frank Martin. I've been writing since I could remember, but mainly prose stuff and novels and short stories and fan fictions. And I think I've been writing comics 6 years now, 5 years, 7 years. I don't know. Just writing. I write a lot of stuff, even if I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. So I have like 30 short scripts of stories that have never been produced. And but some of them do, and I have on my 9th Kickstarter now that's running right now. So that's me, and I jump all over the place. So horror, sci-fi. My book now is crime noir. So
I thought you're not allowed to do that.
I break the rules.
You just did a crime noir? I just finished our crime noir.
I know that. Well, that's what I said last time I saw you. I was like,
that's right.
You timed it wrong.
Sorry, man. That would have been weird to cross promote each other's crime noir because it's such a niche little. You either like crime noir or you like crime noir.
Yours was more spy thrillery.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Don't play it off. Okay? Mine's actual detectives, not in these 007 bullshit.
Oh yeah, no. Mine's like John Wick, born stuff. So.
Good deal. Yeah, and we got Quentin back. Hey man, how's it going? How you doing?
Hey man, I missed the whistling.
Yeah, we're hearing you whistling.
Sorry about that, guys. I didn't hear y'all. I had the headphones set wrong, and I was deeply immersed in doing like 3 things at once. So it's between trying to set up the Facebook shop to make sure that it'll actually work this damn time, and
gotcha.
trying to pull down the script revision notes I had, and then everything else I was doing. And I just sorry about that, because you guys now know I can't carry a tune in a bag.
Whistling, it didn't really matter.
But I write 47 Furious Tales, which first got pitched to the artist I commissioned back in 2017. We have 2 issues out right now. Just took issue 1 and 2 to Indiegogo, and we're doing a little different and atypical thing there because books are already done, books are already printed, and actually, if you look behind me, there's 4,200 copies of issue 2 behind me. So. We are.
I got a dresser behind me.
We're literally fulfilling as we go. So, we only launched on Friday. I haven't really had a chance to do much press yet for it because I've been, doing the single parent thing for several years now, and the last couple of weeks have been pretty tight. But
if only you guys knew somebody that was the news editor for Indie Comics Dispatch.
I know, right? Wouldn't that be great?
And if only I could help with that.
I know. I'm sorry, man. I've been tied up. I need to.
That's fine.
I
ain't coming after you. You can reach out to me.
I know. I'll tap you on the shoulder here probably tomorrow.
Quentin, did I hear you correctly say that you're fulfilling as you go?
Yep. We got a flexible funding mod.
Oh, you're doing Indiegogo?
Indiegogo, yeah.
Okay, well,
because the Kickstarter's already fulfilled.
Right.
We've already taken and shipped those. Actually, the pledges we got on Friday shipped out to the post office on Monday. I'm expecting the one gentleman from Friday who was in the United States to have his book by Wednesday. And then the gentleman in France will probably have it in 2 weeks. And then the fellow we had today, his will probably be in on...
I just got this in return mail 2 days ago. We sent this out 2 months ago.
Oh, no.
Oh, crap.
I hate it when that happens.
Poor guy.
I'm looking forward to my package, Quentin. I can't wait to read it. So
I think you're gonna dig it. The art's really great. Alexia Veldhausen is the principal artist on that project. Because guys, I really admire the fact you guys can let her, because I can't draw worth a damn.
Right.
I really
Me
can't.
neither.
And I've got two really good excuses. One, I got stabbed in the hand back in 1995.
Dude, I would use that excuse so much for everything.
But the real reason is I've never been able to draw worth a damn even before I got stabbed. So it was like getting stabbed in the hand didn't make me any better. It actually made me worse.
Yeah,
that's
it was just
scary.
like affirming your.
Thou shalt not draw.
ability.
Like, ow. Actually, it was 96. Sorry, it was 1996. It was during the Olympic Games. So it was an interesting day. But the good news is I get to hire a lot of artists because, you know, we've
7 years old.
I was a lot older.
I wasn't born.
I was how old was I when I got stabbed? I was 25 when I got stabbed, and I turned 26 later that year. So it was really great. But I've been making role-playing game books since 2017. Wanted to get into comics. I've got a whole stack of comic series I want to develop. So we're doing a bit of both, you know, to put the revenue together. Because really, comics when you can't draw is an expensive proposition, especially if you're going to create ethically, and that's, I think, always important, because no one wants to be the jerk who everyone knows doesn't pay their artists well. So I just decided, you know, we're going to make sure we fund as much as we can on the Kickstarter to pay for the art and pay for, you know, as much as we can. And I come out of pocket from proceeds from other books to help make up the difference. So we're starting to get turned around on that a little bit. As you can see, we got a few thousand copies of issue 2 behind me. I just shipped. What did I ship this week? I shipped 88 copies to shops this week. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
We got some really very supportive stores. Not very many of them yet, but the ones we have are really, really great. The Collective down in Altamonte Springs, the Hive down in Texas, Gotham Underground over in New Jersey, Dewey's in New Jersey as well.
I've been meaning to. I need to talk to you about that, because I've been wanting. I've emailed a lot of comic shops around the U.S. and I've gotten some people that have, you know, responded, and some things have been good, but I'm always looking for, you know, more shops or more people to talk to.
Right.
So, and it's really difficult. I guess it feels a lot more difficult than maybe than it is, but it's just like trying to find the right shops that are welcoming to indie books and that really want that. And there were a few people, and it's kind of not the best time too. I learned, because I was when I was, you know, asking, hey, I'd love to have my book, you know, in your shop. They were like, you know, with the pandemic, they couldn't really, you know, afford to, you know, have that much extra money for other indie books that were coming in. But yeah, I think that's a really good topic and thing. You know, we could talk about more maybe later, or
I'll play the devil's advocate.
Yeah, because I think that would be really helpful for a lot of people to know how to get in contact with stores. And
sorry. No,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Go on. I was saying I had a lot of good fortune on my side on that, because I had Kickstarter backers who thought enough of the products to actually help make introductions to some of these shops. The Collective actually came to me through a Facebook group. That was kind of a really great experience. I got to talk to Danny Morales, so that was kind of nice. But one of the things when everything was shut down early in the pandemic, oddly enough, that was actually when we ended up selling out of our first press run of 47 Furious Tales, issue 1. And what happened is I didn't print enough on the first cover. I only printed 500 copies, but we had shops who weren't getting books from Diamond at all. They weren't getting their Marvel. They weren't getting their DC.
Exactly.
Some of these places had stuff that was, you know, selling on their website. They needed books. And so I put out the call to as many guys who I knew who carry, some stock on hand. I say, hey guys, look, these guys need books. I just shipped them, 10, 15, whatever I shipped them, 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
I said, they need books. So, might want to reach out to them, make sure your price point's on point, and give them a call and see what's going on. And, we went out, when I went to New Jersey to get issue 2 signed for our Kickstarter backers with my artist, Alexia, we swung by one of the shops that's been very supportive of us, not just for this title, but for our RPG titles as well, Gotham Underground. Yeah. And we were talking to them, and they're like, yeah, it's wild, because there were these few days where there was like, we don't know what we're going to do about putting new titles on. And he's like, we got the extra copies of 47 in, and then we had this guy called, and he had a book that he wanted to send us, and he was at the right price point. I was like, yeah, I know that guy. He's like, yeah, he said that you gave him a number. I'm like, yeah. And they had it was only a handful, but they had a handful of new books that came in. People got new indie books that way, and it made a difference for them. So
cool.
Getting that out there, I think, one, helped us with our relationship with the stores that were already carrying us, certainly, because we haven't had any trouble at all shipping issue 2 to stores. So yeah. I would like to hit that mark where I finally hit the 10 stores that are actually active, because we had a couple others that have since closed. One, we had a store owner that died from COVID, and then a couple others that just couldn't survive the shutdown. So it was a rough time for a lot of shops. Yeah. But getting into more stores will be hopefully going on in the next few weeks. I've got another call out to the one store I really want to be in. A lot of them I want to be in, but there's this one that if I got into it would kind of really make my heart thump a little harder.
Yeah.
And I've sent them another email, so we'll see what's going on with that, about what we can work out.
Which one's that?
That would be Mile High Comics.
Oh, we're in Mile High.
I would love to be in Mile High Comics, because I think their store is gorgeous.
Amazing guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Oh.
I think about the devil's advocate so bad.
Lay it on.
Go, Aaron. Go.
I just don't. It's going to sound so pretentious, but I just don't care that much right now. We are in some stores, and it's great, and we have some great relationships with some of them. But there's also other ones in our area that is just, they don't touch indie. They just will not, definitely. And they're absolute jerks about it.
Oh yeah.
And as far as like the breakdown of stuff, I'm not printing enough copies that it's going to actually make a financial help for us. If anything, we're going to take a loss when we put it in stores. Now we have some other shops. We have one in South Carolina that buys 150 of every Tilt book that we put out just for their shop. But for us, we're in like 6 or 7, but we've put no effort into getting into more because of that. Until it's at the point where they can order better and more copies, and we can print more copies, it's just financially not feasible for us.
Yeah, you gotta get that price point down below $1 a book is the real trick of it. If you can get your price point,
and if it's just going in a shop and sitting on the back shelf in the indie comic section somewhere, that's why I like being able to go into a shop, because then I can see how they actually treat indie books.
Right.
And you can see where they get put. If they're shoving me in the back somewhere, thanks for nothing. I appreciate you saying you carry it. And I understand. They're going to buy what makes them money. But at the end of the day, I just don't like it when shops pretend to be indie friendly, but then they're just shoving you in a box somewhere.
I've been really very fortunate. We've had some really prime shelf location on the shops that have been carrying us. So that's been really great. But you got it exactly on the head of this. You have to be able to get to that economy of scale so that you can make it work for the shop owners. Because that's what it's hard to not come off pretentious, but that's at the end game is you don't want to make it bad on them, and you don't want to make it bad on your company too, because otherwise it's not worth it for anybody. Right. I can on bulk orders, my domestic retailer limit for shipping is 16 copies. So, and not just 16 of one copy, you can do 16 of 8 and 8 and whatever.
Right.
But I can do flat rate shipping at 16 and get books to the retailer at $2.50 a copy. and make money at that point, with them having a retail at $5. And I think that's one of the things that helps them want to push the book, because they're doubling their money up off the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
they're always looking for 50-50 anyway.
Right. That's what they get. That's the norm.
Yeah. That's a standard. That's a standard.
Right.
Can I be the third prong in the attack here?
Definitely, yeah.
Neither God nor the devil. Because
Sure.
you don't mind, do you? Okay.
No.
So I'm I guess much more similar to the Furious Tales story than to Aaron's, but nonetheless, I do understand the idea of store owners being total dicks. I mean, there are some around this area, but so here's what we have done. Okay. I don't know. Did I tell the story on this channel yet, Nandor?
I don't think so.
Okay, so we're in 125 stores, which I did all hand to hand on the phone.
Nice.
Yes. And the way you do it is any way you can. So I work with it.
I like
It's great
that.
if somebody wants 20 books, but if they want to take what I call a starter pack of 3 number 1s and 3 number 2s, great. I'll send it book rate. It'll cost very little to send, cost $2 to send. But in any case, definitely want to give a shout out to Danny Morales. He's great.
Danny's top notch.
Gotham Underground turned us down. Whatever. We're still playing the waiting game with Dewey's after 3 months, like back and forth. Like
with Dewey's.
Yeah. It's okay. Don't worry, because we have 125 stores.
I gotcha.
Right. So, we'll get it. We'll either get there or won't get there eventually on any single one. Right. But it's just a matter of, I want to make several really short points about this. First of all.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Starter packs. Right. If people are reticent, our books cost more to make because we make them right down the street. We don't, print them across the universe. So, they cost more and the price point is higher. So starter pack is fine. The other thing is, if you have a fellow comics person and they can give you some references, great. We backed a Kickstarter of a guy in New Jersey, and he gave us 12 stores and 9 of them took the book.
Nice.
We're friends with a very nice, an amazing, talented guy in Northeast Ohio. He gave us again 12 stores, and we got about 7 or 8. So. Out of his list. So, just pound it and keep pounding. I'm not sure that we would do well with crowdfunding yet. So I'm holding off on that. But in the meantime, what's similar about our story to yours, and why I kept wanting to jump in, is you said there was a period during COVID where everything's shut, right? And that period was when the Plan C distribution channel appeared. And you were on that, right?
Me?
Furious Tales, Quentin.
No, we've only ever distributed right here out of this room.
No, I meant weren't you on the Plan C Facebook page? I might be wrong.
I don't think so.
Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. I thought you were. There's a page, and it still exists a year later. It was called Plan C Distribution, and it was a way to, on a Facebook group, directly connect retailers and publishers. It was created by Jen King from Space Cadets in Texas, who co-runs the Comic Book Shopping Network with Jesse James and some of those other folks. And it still exists today. It's a little less important now that Diamond's back in action, but a ton of people made really good connections, and that's kind of where we started. I would say almost 100 retailers posted their info in that Facebook group. Oh, so wow. If you call 350 people on the phone and email them, you'll probably get a third of them to say yes. And I say the people
I'll have to go find that group then, definitely.
Right. The people that are most willing to take your book are people, I would say they're maybe in 2 different groups. First, you have your young bucks like Danny Morales, who's just, the kind of person who's super into the industry because it's more new to them, right? Then you have the other person you want to reach is you want to reach all the old guys still running stores and answering their own phone. The ones that aren't jerks, and there are a lot of them that aren't jerks, are really nice. Just jolly old individuals that when you say my book is like Femforce, but from Pittsburgh, they know exactly what that means. You don't have to You don't have, you don't have to do the runaround. If you if you reference George Perez or something, they'll know exactly what they mean. So, right. So just find the most personable and what would you call it? Enthusiastic individuals, and that's my strategy. Anyway, yeah, that was a really good topic. I haven't heard people talking about selling direct to stores on any stream yet. So thanks for letting me rant about it a little bit.
And the thing is, it's really important for my particular business model because not just for comics, but also for role playing games and such. Because I mean, this is my apartment, 2 bedrooms, me and my daughter. So I don't have a warehouse, so I have to really mind my inventory. Yeah. So what I've done with a lot of the shops that we are in is I've set them up with print-on-demand codes at a highly discounted rate for the drive-through RPG, drive-through comics site, so they can put in like a monthly order and get their RPG shipments and stuff.
Oh, you're with drive-through. That's cool.
Drive-through works pretty well for me. Now, I specifically avoided an exclusive setting with them because I also want to make sure that get my Amazon store built the way I want it and every other place I want it. And it's a 5% difference, which is not worth being exclusive on a platform, in my opinion.
I guess it's my turn. Everybody else gave their retailer story.
I was about to ask, like, what are your thoughts?
This is great.
My thoughts are it's a healthy for not that much payoff. That's what my thought is. I'm with Aaron, but I think it's cool. And it's part of the deal if you find somebody that's interested to deal with them. One of the awesome things about crowdfunding is that when you have a successful funding goal, you always overprint. So that's where your stock comes from. You got to think that those books are already paid for. Whatever you sell them for is money in the bank. It's right. It's already in there, so you can give them whatever discount you technically want. It's not going to be any skin off your back because they're already paid for. You're done. So I think that's one of the good things about crowdfunding. They also Kickstarter takes 10% as opposed to a retailer, which takes 50%. So and then if you get in Diamond and you go through that way, it's even less. So
well, then the other trick is adding in some sort of retailer tier. Which is what we do. Again, I don't hate retailers or the idea of being in stores. It's just not right now. It's just not beneficial. And that's just the point. In fact of the matter, it's just not beneficial. I'm not going to use all my my effort when I need to be working on so much other stuff. Just trying to get into shops. But we offer those retailer packs. Like one of the popular ones is like a 5x5x5, where we just, if we had 2 variants, then they just get 5 of each. And so that gives them, a lot of value for what we're going to charge them, which is, because if it's just variants that we're printing off the Kickstarter anyway, I'll give them a cut rate on that. I do not care. But for us, they have to prove that they're an actual retailer.
Right.
I've had some weird interactions with retailers. I went to Forbidden Planet, which is a very popular store in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
And I dropped my books off and I started talking to the guy, one of the sales guys there, and he says, look, your book falls in the middle of what I'm looking for. It's a very well put together book, but if I put it with stuff that I get from Marvel or DC or the other independents, it's just going to be drowned out. But if I put it with all the other independents that like the indie stuff that I accumulated, that's not what the people that come in are looking for. They want to see stuff that's like stapled, that was made at Kinko's, really on the really low tech end of things. So I was like, I thought that was a weird little.
That's why one of the other things that we started doing was throwing in for some of the retail stuff. Like if they do a 5x5x5, we'll give them like a couple of copies of an ash can, because that's that low grade, super cheap. Just it's like a little collectible thing. And the shops that we've talked to, they'll use that like when somebody orders like a really expensive graded comic, they'll be like, oh, here's like a little ash can of a book that, hey, maybe someday it'll be worth something. Just a little collectible thing. It's so hard to create. It's like, again, it's creating value for everybody, making it worthwhile, building those relationships. That's one thing. But, I've had the same experiences like you, Frank. I've had great ones. Again, we have stores that are very, very, very good to us. But then I have other ones that are the well-known ones. Like for here, I'm not going to drop their name, but they're the one that run all the cons like in our area. and they are the jerkiest people when it comes to anyone that's not in Marvel and DC.
Right.
And then they have the gall when shutdown happened to post this long thing when DC left Diamond, to post this really long thing about like how it's going to affect their business. And our social media girl at the time commented on it and said, "Have you considered carrying Indy?" And then like went in on her. And I was just not okay with that. And I was like, all right, yeah, you guys are on my list now.
Yeah, we got kind of that cold shoulder from a shop in Cincinnati a while back. And they were in the same boat. They were complaining left and right that they couldn't get books from Marvel, they couldn't get books from DC. And I had just gotten in 3,000 copies of issue 1, the second printing on it. Right. And I'm like, I can put books on your shelf for $2.50 a copy as long as you're meeting the order minimum. And he's not having it. I mean, I think the funny part is there's this preconception that indie comic creators aren't bringing quality. But I mean, you take and you open a book by Madeline Holly Rawson or by Mike Shea, or people
that aren't even that well known.
For that matter, some of the books that Aaron's worked on. I'm going to toot Aaron's horn a little bit because I've backed a couple of campaigns that he's been involved with, and I'll tell you this: I've never been disappointed with what I got. Okay?
That means a lot, man. I appreciate that.
I mean, that's just the simple fact of the matter. He pays attention to quality, and you find that if you look at like my Kickstarter history on who I've backed and whatnot, you'll see a lot of the same names over and over again.
Right.
The people you only see once, they've either only ever done one campaign, or the quality just wasn't there, and I just couldn't give them more money.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you take and you'll see, and hopefully, Nandor, I hope that you'll feel the same way when you see 47, because where we get a lot of surprise from folks is the not just the content and the art, but also the quality we went to. I was talking to Fernando Ruiz. He's an instructor at the Kubert School. He actually did a variant cover for us in issue 2, and took him some of the comps he got. We paid everyone in real money, and we also pay him in comps and stuff as a bonus and everything. But anyway, he held the book for the first time. He's like, "Good God, what this costs you to print?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, what do you think?" He's been in the business 26 years. I mean, what do you think? He's like, "This had to cost you like $6." I'm like, "Oh, no." I said, "I couldn't put it on the shelf for $6."
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so I tell him the truth. It cost me less than $1 to get it printed. He's like, "Did you have to get it from China?" I'm like, "No, it was printed in Illinois." So
nice. Yeah, that's even better.
Good job.
Yeah.
Printed in the U.S. Here's the funny. I had printed through Mix'em, and I realized a lot of people are like, "Well, I want to print 100 books, and it's going to cost." Don't print 100 books. Try and get your economy to scale if at all possible.
Yeah.
If you're going to be, it depends on where you are. Like I'm not at the point where I'm willing to buy 1,000 copies to get my price point that low because of the work that I'm going to have to put into trying to get those fulfilled. Oh yeah. What I'm noticing, though, is the more that our audience grows. I'm coming at this a little bit different in the sense of our company's only existed for 2 years. That's as long as we've been publishing. So it's very new, and we could have effed up at the beginning and really just shot ourselves in the foot. But luckily, we had a little bit of sense and tried to scale back, because the first campaign I did, I was like, "Oh, let's just do like 1,500 copies to get that price per copy so low." But it's your first book, and nobody even knew who the heck we were. Now it's getting to the point where it's like, okay, as we progress with the Tilt series, we did issue 3, and we started fulfilling everything, and then I was like, "Oh crap, we only have like 10 copies of issue 2 left. We're gonna have to do a reorder for it." So I get it to an extent of like, the more you order, of course, the price per copy goes down. Right. The difference is I want to have to be able to order that many.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was 2 years in, we're just not at the point where, for us, it's like, okay, let's order that many or whatever.
Yeah. I was flat out at issue 1. And so between that and having, a little bit of revenue setting there from online sales and RPG stuff, getting a 3,000 copy order made a lot of sense. And it still does. I mean, even the stuff that hasn't sold yet on that there's some of it's probably going to be used for future Kickstarters. There's a lot of it that we used for this Kickstarter for issue 2. It would be stuff that we're using for the Indiegogo, of course, because we're shipping that right now. But just it's one of those things where I feel the weight of the hustle right now. trying to get that done while I'm trying to write as well. And it is a huge amount of work, but I need to really bump my revenue up if I'm going to get to the production schedule I'm aiming for. Because the nice thing as a writer is I can write 3 or 4 issues and get one into production under different artists.
That and you know, those issues, I think we were talking about it before, you know, they're ones that you've written years ago and it's taken this long to get out. That's what Frank was talking about. Yeah. And it's the same way with us, like Tilt, you know, we're just finally getting to the 4th issue, but though that whole series had been written like, I don't even know, 4 years ago, before I even started the company. It was just stuff I had sitting then, and now we're finally getting to the end of the first story arc. I will say I like anybody that's been listening to this, because we've talked so much more about the other stuff that people that write scripts have to do.
Exactly. Like that's what all this is about. Like I
nuts
like,
and bolts.
Awesome. Yeah. Like because this is stuff I've always wanted to know. And like, you know, you saying like I was about to say, man, I'm really glad I'm not alone in this, because like I was saying, like I've written these scripts, you know, years ago, and you know, now they're just finally coming out. And then also this is really informative for me, because I've only printed graphic novels so far. I haven't done the single issue scene yet. So hearing all this is like really educational, and I'm learning a lot here about that. And I think that's something I've ran into that I can add a little bit of a different perspective is like, you know, I think shops are probably more willing to get, you know, single issues than they would be graphic novels, just because, you know, it's cheaper. But and like it's not as much of a risk for them to sell like a $20 book that's an indie book, besides selling, you know, a $5 book that's an indie book.
I had said it before in here that I hate the idea that we have to keep using the term indie.
Right.
Like right. I feel that in my bones. Like I should just be able to call, hey, you know, Frank, oh, he's a comic book writer. Like I hate, well, because there's connotations there. It's like, how about you just pick up the freaking book and flip through it and read it, you know? And that's all I want. Because there's the whole mentality on campaigns is, you know, you get those ones that are like, well, I don't care as long as people throw $1 in, just so I can get that backer number to 450 backers. Yeah, but if nobody actually got a copy of the book, I want our book, whether it's digital or physical, I want it in their hands, and I want them to have read it. And because those are the people that you see come back.
Oh yeah,
definitely. I think too, like when it comes to the word indie, like for me, I know what you're talking about, and then there's this other part of me that goes like, when I hear indie, it makes me more interested. You know, I'm like, oh, that's an indie writer.
I'm thinking merely from the perspective of shops and people that aren't other indie creators, is what I'll say.
Yeah,
because people that aren't, you know, just normal consumers or whatever, first off, they're not even going to know what indie means. Unless they're like into indie music or whatever. But shops, when they hear indie, immediately they're like, oh, lower quality.
Exactly. You're right.
And I found some of my favorite books then they're indie.
Exactly. You know, Boston Metaphysical Society, Miskatonic University, Max West, who does his little funny book stuff. It kind of reminds me of Charles Schultz's early work, you know. And you look at some of this stuff and you're like, okay, what is this? But then you start reading it and you're like, oh my God, this is really, really good.
Or freaking like Duplicate from Carl and Abby.
Oh yeah,
that book is freaking like, how is that not been a movie?
Mojo Rising, Raj Mahan's debut. Oh my God, that book is good. That book is fun, you know. Guys, I actually have an appearance I have to get to here in a minute on a YouTube thing. I'm sorry.
We did a great work stream.
The very first one, the very first appearance I'm actually scheduled for, because like I said, my promo is all messed up. Aaron, I'll reach out to you this week, man.
Yeah, man.
But I wanted to say, hey, Nandor, you know, I sent you those links. Would you mind sharing them to these guys so they can check out 47 in their free time?
Yeah, totally.
So because that's already configured and everything's set, and I'll go ahead and go do this appearance thing. And Aaron, man, it is a pleasure to get to speak to you. It's been too long.
You too, man.
Harrensburg, dude, I do not remember what your real name is, but it's good to talk to you. I spoke to you, I think, about 2 weeks ago. And Frank, it's good to meet you, man. I do have one question though for Frank, if I can, because Frank, this summer I'm going to bring my first light novel out, and I have a weird question for you. Okay.
Oh, how weird.
I charge $5 a question.
Do I need to put this on mute?
It's not one of the latex or leather questions. It's one of the questions about just simple actual size format. What do you like? What do you think? The 5.5 by 8.5 or just flat 6 by 9? What do you like for something like a Japanese style light novel?
I don't know.
Okay. That is the most frank answer.
That's the
every time I've ever had. This is one of the reasons I love having Frank on, because he's been on the live show a couple times, and every time you ask him something, it's just whatever you feel like.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing everyone else is telling me to. I just figured I'd see if I had someone.
It just depends on what you like.
Yeah. I like 6 by 9 digest for my RPG stuff, and so I think it fits nice on the shelf if I do that, and so people who are buying my other books are gonna be okay. But my RPG stuff's either 6 by 9 or 8.5 by 11, depending on how much stuff I'm trying to cram into it. So
honestly, if somebody likes what they're looking at, they're not going to be like, I would buy this if it was a different size. Nobody's really.
And I've got a really great artist for the cover and for
such a good point.
The artist,
I would get this, but it's not an 8.5 by 5.5. So
the artist I've got who's going to be working on the interior illustrations and the cover, he did a variant cover for me for issue 2. His name is Paul Walcott. And he did this particular variant for me for issue 2.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty badass.
He's remarkably talented. He does some work for Viz and some other manga companies as well. He's a Kubert School grad. He's a hell of a guy. But yeah, guys, thanks for all the great information. And I'll tell you, I'm gonna keep pushing for stores because I like that part of the model. Although it is freaking breaking my neck trying to get into places. Nandor, always a pleasure, man.
Once y'all get into all the stores, then I'll be like, hey.
I'll message you, and because I wanna get some more information from you about contacting stores, and you too, Herrenberg.
I got all the names.
Yeah, because
I know where a lot of the current bodies are buried. So yeah,
some of us know that when Plan C happened, that some of us weren't invited to be part of it. So some of us might have a little bit of bitterness about that.
Oh, I never know about it, wait, I don't understand.
I never heard, but I gotta go, guys. I'll catch up with you.
All right. See you, man.
I knew about it because of other creators in our circle that had even been talking about it, like passively talking about it.
Yeah.
And then it was more of a, we're doing this thing and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't like a, hey, we can help you out. And I was like, okay, yeah.
Honestly, I was in it. I was just lurking. I was just kind of watching. I didn't really do anything with it. It was a crazy time. I was worried about what I was going to do.
That's just so frank.
Just
like, I was watching
creators. He's asking what size book he wants to do, because as creators, we put so much time and effort and thought into the littlest things. Like when we were talking about lettering, like readers and consumers, they don't think about this stuff. We struggle
unless it's off-putting
decisions that people don't even realize.
Yeah, unless it's truly off-putting, that's all that matters when it comes to the lettering. Because, Frank, I think we've talked about this before. The most critical people are other indie comic book creators. At the end of the day, like they're the ones that are going to pick apart everything you did. But normal consumers, dude, our first book, Paradigm, it's rough. I mean, it's all right. Like you can read through it and not like feel like it was a waste, but when you look at it after you've been making comics for a while, it's like, oh, this is rough. But the only people that would say that were other creators, and consumers would be like, nah, that story was awesome.
So like I said, I'm a design idiot. I can't design anything. So one of the things that I feel really triumphant about is like the table of contents page, like the credits page in the front of the book. Because I make those myself. So I'm like, yeah, I friggin' did this. And I'm thinking anybody's just going to look at it and just skip right over. They're not even going to read the damn thing. But I spent so much time and effort kind of thinking about how I'm going to – I fake it. I fake a lot of the design. That's my design motto. Just fake it till it looks good.
Oh, yeah, Frank, creating indicia, as they call them, right, are fun because it just throws you back to the days when you were reading books and you saw all the – artists and writers' names, and you wondered like, who is that? And like, then you started following names. So indicia are really fun to create, and that's my take on it.
Nobody looks at them though. Nobody reads that stuff.
I do. But again, I'm just another creator. Somebody like, oh, you got him on that book.
Creators do, yeah, apparently.
Well, you like to see who's working with who. I mean, it's nice to know like how the circle's growing. I like to see new names, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like once you keep seeing the same names over and over, it's like there's got to be more than this.
Yeah, and I've seen at least you know, I started, you know, putting out seasons, the first volume in early 2018, and I was a part of some groups, you know, on social media, and I knew some writers, but I've just in the last 4 or 5 years, it's grown so much. Like I've seen so many new people and so many new writers and artists and just creators that you know, either started right around the time I started or have just like, you know, popped up out of nowhere and are just like amazing and phenomenal. And I'm like, where have you been? You know, like what have you been doing? And it's been really exciting. There's this one guy, I believe you pronounce his name Curtis Clow, and he does a couple of fantasy series, Beastlands, Slightly Exaggerated, and The Wild Cosmos. And I remember he started around the same time, like my first Kickstarter for Seasons, Volume 1 was, and he's been growing so much, and it's been so like inspiring and just so cool to see because his single issues have made, you know, just tons of money crowdfunding, and he puts. I just got a package from him a couple weeks ago, and his books are just like high quality, really good. He uses the same printer I do with Print Ninja, but really good stuff. And he's one of those few people that he like. I remember when he was working his day job and he was writing and he was putting out these books. And I remember when he announced, "Hey guys, I can actually quit my day job and I can make writing full time." And I'm just like, dude, like, good for you. Yeah, I'm so jealous. Like, I'm so envious of him.
Oh yeah,
you know, in so many ways. But
I don't even mind being jealous or envious of people if it's inspiring or makes me drive a little bit harder.
Yeah, exactly. It makes me want to.
It's the other ones that bother me. That it's like you're not doing anything. Like why do I have to respect you just because you say I have to respect you?
Yeah.
Because you know, I don't know how long everybody's been doing this stuff, but something that Matt, the co-owner of Catalyst, and myself have noticed is that we came into the scene. We kind of knew nobody, didn't know what to look at or what would help us like kind of start off. So suffered through and miraculously made it through our first campaign. And then we're like, okay, well, let's start revamping everything and trying to level up. We're both just extremely driven people, just outside of comics too. It's just who we are. So we knew like we're just going to keep putting effort into it. But then when you start, at some point, when you start doing stuff, we notice there's little ponds, and you keep jumping from pond to pond, and it's different groups of people that are at different levels doing different things. There was our local scene, who were all the people that were talking about making comics. And then when you make a comic, guess who doesn't talk to you anymore? All those people. And it's like when we got into this stuff, there's people that we're friends with now that are still like, maybe if we weren't doing better than we are, or as good as we are, that they would talk to us more than we are. But it's like at some point something happened and they're like, well, no, you're supposed to be the little puppy. Like you're not supposed to be learning. And once you start learning and they know like you're going to keep pushing, then people start getting weird about it. And I'm over here like, I just want good comics. I don't care if they're mine, but I just want, that's all I care about. I just want to read fun stories from people.
Yeah.
Honestly, Aaron, comics is probably one of the most approachable mediums. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but when you look at other things like film or I see the publishing, the author side of things, it's way worse, where there are different levels.
Yes.
And unless you've hit that level, you aren't allowed through the gate. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
Very, very difficult. So
I agree. It's very approachable. It's just you meet those personalities, and that you're just like, oh man, like come on, I thought you were cool.
You really see it at a con too. Some of the bigger cons, you get a lot of tables. There are some creators you walk up to and you tell them you write comics, and they'll talk to you for 20 minutes about BS. And then there are other creators where you're just like, I should have met my heroes because this guy's an asshole. So
it's like everyone has a Neil Adams story, and it went one of two ways. Mine was awful.
Mine was that's $40 for that autograph, kid.
Man.
I was at a show with Louis Small Jr., who he did Vampirella like back in the 90s. So his mentor was Neil Adams. He hasn't been in comics in a long time, but we were at a show together, and he was like, let's go talk to Neil, which was a weird sentence to me anyway, because I'm like, that doesn't compute in my brain at all, because we hadn't even started making comics yet. And so we go up there, and he's like, hey, this is Aaron. He makes scripts or whatever. But as we're walking up, Neil's just like, well, what the F do you want, Louis? And I was like, this is weird. When there's an 8-year-old kid standing in front of you asking you for an autograph, and you're just cussing out one of your former students or whatever. And so then I went and shook his hand, and he stopped, and he was like, no, we're going to redo that. You didn't shake my hand good enough. I was like, this is a weird experience, man. So I had to reshake this guy's hand. And then I walked away, and I was like, well, I will not be talking to Neil Adams anymore.
Oh boy. Rough.
Goodness.
So he didn't charge you $40 for the handshake, so.
You know what? I didn't get an autograph from him either.
You're like, that's as much as I needed. What's that?
I'll tell you what I like about one of the things that I do admire about him is that he doesn't make all of his money from comics. He makes a boatload of money from comics, but where he makes his money is he started an advertising agency, and that's where all his money comes from. Like the little commercials with the Antonio Banderas bee, that was his company. Like, yeah. Whoa. So when I look at like the other stuff that we do, because doing design and all that kind of stuff, I look at that and I'm like, okay, that's cool to see people that are doing comics and this other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I talked about this on another show, as far as how many people are just comic book writers. Like that's the only thing that they do. It's a very, very small list. Yes. Even people that are like semi well known that write comics, they also write something else. It's
or they're musicians. Many writers that are musicians.
They could be journalists or professors or bloggers or just screenwriters or something else. Very few people are just strictly comic writers, and they're usually humongous names.
Yeah.
Man, we got so much work done. It's like turn into a therapy session.
I know. No, this is
laundry.
Yeah, Frank's doing work.
He's killing it, man.
Yeah, I got the basket next to me. It's got to get done sometime.
This is the life of a writer. Like we come up with our best ideas doing laundry and stuff.
Well, it's also I'll say it's just nice to like. Anytime you talk to other people, it's nice to hear people that think even remotely close to you do, because it's like affirmation. It's like, okay, I know I'm crazy, but at least somebody else is crazy too. Because what I was going to ask earlier, because I'm just curious, because I know I can't be the only person that does this. Do you guys, when you're writing, from time to time, depending what the project is, do you guys just mess with your process from time to time? Like maybe just change it up the way you would normally write? Or outline or script.
Aaron, you're making a big assumption that I have a process.
You're right. So your professional answer would be like, "Oh yeah, absolutely."
Yeah, I don't know. I black out. I hit the keyboard. I black out, and for some reason,
there's words on the screen.
I take acid every now and then.
Yeah, just drop a little bit.
I switch back and forth between Mountain Dew and Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Yep,
that's awesome. You get different ideas depending on which beverage you have.
Which caffeinated beverage overloads you with ideas? Right, they're different ideas. Right. Yeah, a Red Bull could be. Yeah, Red Bull could work too sometimes.
Yeah, seriously, I don't think I have a process. Like my brain is just always in story mode.
Yeah.
Always
I don't think I have a set process. I think I'm trying to convince myself that I do. I think that's why I'm asking the question.
Right.
I don't
because I feel like every time I write something, I'm effing with the way that I wrote it the way before.
No, because having a process means that there's a start to the process and an end to the process. And I never have a start and an end. I'm constantly in thinking about stories or writing comics. It doesn't really matter what I'm doing. It's just I'm constantly thinking about it. So it's just whenever I have time to sit down and write something, that's just when I do it. Or I have time to script something out is when I do it. You were talking about dialogue. Like what were you saying? How you love writing dialogue?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts.
Yeah. So my, I guess, quote unquote process for writing dialogue is I write dialogue in the shower. I think we had this conversation.
Oh,
before.
dude. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a waterproof notepad in the shower. It sticks to the tile.
God, I need to get one of those.
That's cool. Wow.
So
Yeah.
I write dialogue in the shower. That's where I do it because I script out the entire scene. I write out the dialogue and then I'll transcribe it on the computer and then I'll break it up into panels and actions. And
yeah, see, I'm saying it out loud in the shower, and then I'm like, oh, hold on, that was good. Let me let my wet hand hit record on my phone real quick.
I do that too. And my wife one year asked me, what do you want for Father's Day? And point blank, I just said waterproof notepad.
Yeah. Dude, that's cool, man.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. That's a good idea.
Very nice.
So yeah,
Yep.
Go for it.
For me, it's writing on the bus. That's the most intense and focused thing. Is the 20 minutes you spend on the bus between one location in the city and the other. And this could work for subways too, but we don't really have subways in Pittsburgh so much. We have something called the T, which is a train, but it's mostly above ground. So either on the T or the subway, those 20 minutes, 2 or 3 times a week, sitting down with a pen. I write in my planner too. That's the thing is I write in the same book that I do my date planning in because it's so large. And so, that's that. Everything initially is pen to paper before transcribing. And it helps to have certain periods of intense focus. And that's all.
Yeah.
When I go on car trips with my wife, like it's like half an hour drives, 45-minute drives. And I ask her, she wants me to drive all the time, but I ask her to drive because if I have 30 minutes, I can work on the computer. And she's one of these people that can't look on a screen in a car. She gets car sick. And she says, how can you do that? I would just get car sick. I'm like, you know how I can do it? Because I have to do it. Because I know
right.
Because I'm trying to make a dream happen.
Because I'm 45 minutes uninterrupted on a computer screen. I have no choice. I have to get something done.
Well, it's just like getting your sea legs. After a while, you don't get car sick anymore. You get your car legs, I guess.
Car legs.
If you do it often enough, yeah.
No, that's cool. That's cool you mentioned that because just the other day, I had to pick up my girlfriend somewhere, and it's a 40-minute drive, and it was kind of one of those emergency type deals, like where her car broke down. I had to go get her, and I was in the process of working on. I was scripting, I was writing, and I was like, oh crap! Like I was in the zone.
You got a little bit mad, didn't you?
Yeah.
I do. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, dude, if I'm in it and like my wife's like, all right, hey, I need you to come pick me up. I'm just like, are you?
Yeah,
kidding me?
no, it's because you finally had the time, or you finally were there,
or you just hit that flow.
Yeah.
When it gets interrupted, you're gonna be like, man, it's gonna be so hard to get back there.
Yeah, it's like you're mentally and emotionally and just like all prepared in that moment to keep going. And so I was like, dang it, and so so I just left her there. No, I'm joking. And
I was like, I gotta get this done.
Yeah. But I was driving and I was like, can I write when I'm driving? Like I've never tried that before.
I've never confessed this to anybody. I tried that and I got into an accident. I hit a telephone pole.
Oh crap!
Well, shoot.
Yeah.
Oh man. Dang, dude.
Were
you like?
No.
Yeah. Were you actually like? See, what I was doing was I was driving and I was talking out loud to myself about ideas and things that I was like, okay, this I'm driving and I'm like, okay, this scene right here, we're gonna be here. Then I'll ask myself questions about that scene, and then I'm like, what's that character supposed to say? What's what's your motivation? What's all this about? But I wasn't writing on my phone or anything like that.
I just record that stuff because I'm a musician and I think about stuff and so I'm predispositioned that if I'm driving and I'm like, oh, this would be a fat melody, then I hit record real quick and do it with my voice, and then later on I'll go get a guitar and figure that out. But then I just developed that same thing with the writing side. It's like, okay, well, if I get some good ideas, let me just hit record and drop them so that I have them later.
Yeah, that's a good. I like that.
When I go for runs, I think a lot. That's another good thing. I go for a jog.
You ran into a tree.
Yeah, no,
on a run.
Very, very, very funny, Aaron. But no, I was running and I think a lot about ideas. So I'm like, maybe I could utilize this time and do the voice record thing while I'm running. It wasn't really working out so well.
Yeah,
everything's so shaky and windy. Keep dropping my phone.
Yeah.
It was.
Oh God, I can't keep going. You're just I'm tired of running.
It's just out of breath because you were talking too much.
Well, it's very funny because I went for a long run one time, and I wanted to talk to Chuck about a project. He's an editor on my projects, and I called him while I was on the run. I go, I'm terribly sorry about this, but I just got to talk to you about it right now. We were on the phone for an hour, 45 minutes. God bless him.
Whoa.
He never said, dude, you got to call me back when you're not.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. I wish Chuck was here. He was here last week. That'd be so cool. I bet he has a lot of fun stories too.
Causing trouble. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so that was I guess that was one thing that changed in my process, because I think figuring out exactly how my process works from doing this, and the more I've been writing, and usually things do start out for me to where I'm like, okay, it's starts out with ideas in a notebook, and then it just moves on from there to sometimes, honestly, too, it could be this line of dialogue, and it's like one line or two lines, and I'm like, that's the story, or that's the crux of what this whole theme about this particular story is about. And I've had really amazing moments like that where it's a character moment, with that dialogue scene, and it's like, this right here is going to tell me how I'm supposed to write this story, this moment here. And so but it usually, for me, it's like I haven't broken it up too much, because I think I'm still figuring it out what actually works for me.
Yeah, mine varies depending on the project. Like the one that I was working on during last week's, I had said before, because we had talked about what we're going to be working on. I was like, I'm just going to work on the outline. And then I was like, nah, I have to write the scene. Sometimes I just get a scene and I'm like, let me just go ahead and knock that out so that it's on paper, and then I'll worry about the rest of the outline later.
Right.
I've done that before too. Sometimes when it's in your head, and you just kind of get it down. Those are the best moments for me, when you have a story, a project that's developed around a single scene, and I'll bump out the dialogue, but I won't actually write the actual scene. And then you start at the beginning of the story and you actually hit that moment. It's like, now I get the whether it's the climax or something else, but it's always have that moment, like this was the original seed from which everything else developed. It kind of hits you with a little sweet spot.
Yeah, I dig it.
Sweet guys. Well, hey, you guys feel like we could get some work done? Or
I feel like Aaron's about to go to bed.
Yeah, I feel like Aaron's
it's 10:30 where I am.
Me too. It's 10:30.
Yeah, man, I got to work at some point.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm an hour behind you guys, so I'm a little earlier here.
Oh yeah, I think all the rest of us are East Coast.
Gotcha.
I think therapy is important too, though. So
definitely
writer therapy.
Oh yeah, no, I love this guy. It's like this has been like awesome, and I do think a lot of what we're talking about, doesn't get touched on a lot in a lot of streams, and that was the point. If anyone's like watching this and they're hearing this, and it's like, why are they doing this stream? What's this all about? It's like everything we've been talking about tonight. This is why we're doing this, because there are things that us writers have to do behind the scenes that artists don't have to worry about, and they don't, they get paid, they do their job, they're awesome. You build relationships and partnerships with them. But then when you get that book, in the mail, you get your shipment of, hundreds or thousands of books, it's like, okay, you ship those off to your backers, and now you're stuck with all these books. And I mean, it's a big deal. You have to find a way to like, okay, how am I going to sell these? Am I just going to save these for the next Kickstarter? Do I want to like put these out in stores? Who am I supposed to contact? And a lot of, I this is the first time I've had this conversation with other writers struggling with that or thinking about it. Yeah. I barely like either it just hasn't come up, like I said, in the last couple of streams that we've done, I'm the only comic book writer in my city, like locally here, that can I don't have anyone to like bounce stuff off, that I can talk to on a regular basis.
Same here, man.
Yeah, and it's
our
like
city is barren here where we are.
Yeah, yeah, it's just so unfortunate. And
wow,
and I think,
we have 2 cliques that don't talk to each other. 2 entire cliques.
Wow.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's full of people. I don't know where. Oh, okay.
That's such a different spin on that. Yeah, ours was very much that whole vein of a lot of people saying that they were going to make comics, and then we actually did it, and nobody else did it. And so then we just realized, at least for me, I have my business partner to bounce everything off of, and he's an artist.
Yeah.
So I looked out there, but in the sense of like having other writers, I don't. So
you're like the Merge Records of comics there.
I don't know what we are.
Well, I meant being in North Carolina, the comparison to Merge, right?
Yeah, for sure.
No, not really.
It's a little bit of a cliche stereotype that they say that writing is only 10% of the work and everything else is the other 90%. But it's true. My wife started a business. She started a Pilates studio, and I told her, I said, Pilates is going to be the least of the things that you do. You have to be an accountant, a lawyer, a grief counselor, a therapist, a social services worker. You got to be a marketer, a copywriter. You got to be all of those things when you run a business, regardless of what it is, in addition to whatever is the thing that you do. So people, when they start businesses, they don't realize just how many other fields you have to be in order to
taxes.
Yeah, taxes.
I love bringing up taxes on comic book stuff because it gets so weird so quick.
Yeah. We should devote a whole stream to that one.
My favorite question I get is when I run a Kickstarter and I get that money, do I have to pay taxes on that money? I'm like, well, yeah, it's money that's being put into your bank account, so I'm sure taxes have to be figured out.
You know what income means? It means it came in, and that money came in. And government's not just going to be like, nah, you know what? You hold on to that. You've been all right this year.
But seriously, there's a million different questions about.
Well, the funny thing that I've noticed is because we use people to prep our taxes, and every single time we say, "Oh, well, here's our records for the Kickstarter and the money," they're like, "What's Kickstarter?" And these are like actual tax prep people, and so even them, like, they're still trying to figure that stuff out. And we've had people like one of them. She is like the lead auditor for our area. And she had to go like get somebody to help her do some research on like how all that stuff breaks down. And I mean, that's why you ask people, and you can't just not claim it though, people.
Well, I mean,
don't do it. We want to see you guys around in a couple of years.
both Kickstarter and Indiegogo, I assume, ask for that information. So yeah.
Yeah, well, they don't. Like, it's on you.
They don't?
No, unless you make a certain threshold of money, they don't send you any documentation. It's a lot. It's like, what is it, 250,000 or something before they'll send you a.
I don't even know about that.
Yeah, I think what I found is
they don't ask for a tax ID number of some sort. Either
social, right?
Yeah.
But what I found is it depends on your state, and it depends on how much money your campaign raises, and it depends on how many backers you got. Like all those.
It shouldn't scare people because at the end of the day, all that stuff that you did to fulfill it, like, write it off. That's the whole point.
I mean, but you're supposed to run a Kickstarter in order to fund a project. So theoretically speaking, if you hit your funding goal, it's a net zero. So it's not like you're going to owe any taxes on it unless like you just crush it and you got a whole bunch of profit on it. But it's still something you got to go through, because if you're going to be selling books after the fact, or if you're going to be writing for projects that are down the line, you're going to be declaring those losses this year as opposed to next year. So it's such a weird business plan, because you put so much money up front into your production costs and your stock that you are making money on past projects and spending money on current projects.
Yep.
It's a bizarre business model.
It is so weird. Again, just a whole nother thing that people don't think about when they get into everything.
Yeah, definitely. I remember when I was like, I got one of my first letters, from like Kickstarter or whatever, and I was like, what the heck is this? And I open it up and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that's important. I'm like, oh yeah, it's an afterthought, because you're not thinking about that. And, and it's important to note that don't throw away your mail, guys, and read your emails,
So make a little effort, people.
Yeah, definitely.
I love explaining Kickstarter to my wife. She had asked me today. She said, if you make it big, at what point do you stop using Kickstarter? I go, what do you mean stop using Kickstarter?
Right.
Yeah, right.
I go, Keanu Reeves just jumped on Kickstarter and made $1.4 million. You think people are stopping using it? More people are jumping on it because it's not what it originally was created to be. I mean, it still is, but people are realizing how much of an event that it is as far as pre-sales go. That Boom is going to be continuing to use it. There's no way that they're going to stop using it, because it's just
they've done all right.
So, but I mean, this is a conversation that constantly gets brought up on social media. Like, at what point does it become too ridiculous? At one point, does it completely ceases to be what it was originally intended? Like,
well, I mean, I know you guys have noticed, because you've all run campaigns within the last year, that there's been that difference of the field kind of changed a little bit last year, and a lot of more people did it, and some books that you just wouldn't think would have funded, and now it's starting to look like it's starting to level back out, and not everyone that launches a campaign's funding. And so you're starting to see that whole, like, okay, well, it's starting to come back around a little bit to where people are looking more at I think a lot of it had to do with all of us being stuck in our houses last year, where they're just like, yeah, I'll just buy some books.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's starting to come back around, I think, from what I'm seeing lately anyways. There's some people that I'm like, man, I saw them on this book and they crushed it, and then they put out the next one, and it's just like, okay, well, there's your drop off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, if you see top tier creators jumping on to fund their books, and then as soon as they fund, they go into the direct market like the next month. That's the business model.
Well, it's funny, because that's what all these SourcePoint, Scout, like all them completely changed the way that they do their contracts and stuff. Because now it's like, oh no, we're going to let you keep crowdfunding, because that's how you get your money back from making the book. We'll just have you distribute it. And it's just a different way than it was just even a couple years ago, when it's like, well, no, you sign a contract with us and we give you this amount of money to.
They won't even touch a book on Kickstarter, but it's completely changed. I was thinking specifically about Nocturna. That's Scott Snyder and Image book with Tony Daniel. That you can't get bigger than that.
Right.
And they killed the Kickstarter, and then they went right into direct market. And I think I don't know where they came, but they were in like the top 10. So
it's crazy.
Except they had to change their name from Nocturna.
They did. What is it called? Noctera?
Noctera, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So edgy.
Yeah. It's funny because I just saw that, that it just came out. That issue just came out, and I saw that in my comic book store, and I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Just it's interesting seeing mainstream books that were on crowdfunding campaigns and seeing them in stores and being like, again,
it's
I'm
weird,
like, man,
because it's kind of like, oh, they're just like us.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, it's
Yeah, it's like, we were the head of the game, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
No, but the question I was going to pose was, at what point should Kickstarter like say you guys can't be on our platform? Like, is Sony Pictures going to start trying to crowdfund a movie, or is Marvel going to like put their own Spider-Man graphic novel on there? Like, is there somebody, or are there people that don't belong there? Period. Like on the platform,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That whole gatekeeping thing gets very dangerous, because then it's really just up to like, who's it up to, and why do you get to decide who's allowed to do this and that?
They've had big licensed properties on there. Boom had Power Rangers. People have had like licensed Batman stuff on there. So it's they definitely shifted away from their original mission statement a bit. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just I think there's legitimate questions.
No,
right.
I agree.
And, I mean, I think what would deter them, of course, it's always money. It's like, these campaigns are making, millions of dollars, and it's like they get 10% of that, or, whatever. And it's like, that's a lot for Kickstarter or Indiegogo,
Yeah, nobody turns away the money. It's just, I hear a lot of people saying that it shouldn't concern you as an indie guy who's on Kickstarter when these bigger people bring more of an audience on there.
I feel that I hear people say that, but I feel like that's what you say before bad things happen.
I don't really buy that. If it becomes a big thing with all these big people on it, everybody that's at the bottom is just going to be pushed further down the bottom.
I would like to see a poll of how many people backed Berserker, and then we're like, oh, Aaron's book's on Kickstarter. Let me go ahead and pick that up too. I'm just saying, like, I don't think it was a.
Well, one of the big factors for campaigns is Kickstarter's algorithm for suggestions, and they're going to be pushing less popular titles further down the line. If they're getting a whole bunch of big names that are on there, they can draw more attention, because the more funding that those bring in, the more revenue that Kickstarter has.
Yeah.
So I don't have the answers. Somebody smarter than me has to answer these questions, but it's something that's rattled my brain.
It's funny because that the whole reason that these studios were like, we're going to go over there, is because they just saw like, we can make money off of this. It wasn't because it's let's put this book out. No, it was like, nah, people are over there. Let's go get them.
I've heard the counter argument that says you shouldn't, if you're worried about suggestions, Kickstarter suggestions and recommendations to fund your book, then you shouldn't be on Kickstarter. And I'm like, look, I'm not worried about the recommendations in order to fund my book. I can do that myself. But every dollar that I make over that is more revenue, is more income.
Dude, I'll tell you, our last campaign, we somehow, do not ask me about our last campaign. We just did a whole episode on our podcast about it. I do not understand some of the stuff that happened, but we did somehow get on the suggested page as the comic book of whatever that day was, and no idea how. But I'm not going to sit here and act like it didn't help. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, nobody backed us when they saw that. No, I mean, it helps. It's just now we have to be a little bit more than anything. Cross promo is what helped us on our last one. If you can just find the good campaigns to cross promo with, that brings in a whole different level of viewership.
Have creators talking about each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy how you get if you get the right one person that tweets out your campaign, it could make all the difference.
Completely change it. So
Definitely.
for us, one of the last days of the campaign, we had, and I don't know these people. I'm be honest, but they did the book Deadskins, and they have a huge following, right? And
that's Fried Comics. That's Clay Adams.
yeah. And so I talked to him because I had known somebody else that he knew, and he was like, "Oh, dude, I'm gonna give your campaign a shout out," and it made a huge difference. Like the morning I woke up, as soon as I opened up Kickstarter, I knew he had to have put out an update because I saw the backer number, and that's exactly what happened. Was again, it's just a matter of hitting the right campaigns that are willing to be cross promoting with you.
Clay's a good guy. He puts out quality books. He also puts out niche books. Like if you have weird, quirky kind of horror books, you have to find the right people that are in those weird niches that already have the audience that you need to get. Like if you make
and our book had nothing to do with that, and that's why I was like, all right, if you'll do it, then I'm not going to complain.
If you have like an action book, that's such like a general thing to try to build an audience for. But if you have these weird specific things that hit all the right keys, you start to build fans, and they become fans of just you in general, you know? So it's good stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, Frank has a live campaign that he could have sent. He could have sent Aaron a 30-second elevator pitch to go on the beginning of all of our podcast episodes or something. I don't know, but
it's like what? Well, hey, let's
lazy writers.
I think that's what we should do right now. I think we'll bypass the work part of it, so you guys are out of you can feel secure not having to work tonight. But
no pressure.
Fair enough.
What I would like to do before we end the stream is everyone tell the viewers, tell everyone where they can find your books and where you want them to go to buy your stuff and to support you, because that's something we haven't done yet on the stream. And I don't want this to be a promotion stream, but I think this has been like such a great conversation, and we've hit a lot of great things, and I think we should share what we're working on and where people can find our stuff. So yeah, we'll start with Aaron and we'll go from there. But where can they find your stuff, dude?
Yeah. So I mean, we do a few different things, but Beards and Comics is our podcast. That's it's similar to this in the sense of it's just talking to creators behind the scenes. But I mean, we do artists, writers, whatever. So anywhere that podcasts are found, you can go check that out, and it's really dedicated toward. If you want to know what it's like being a creator and behind the scenes, that's all it's for. But for the comics, it's catalystcomicstudio.com, and you can find our books, in some stores. They're all listed on the website, or just buy them off the website. We'll ship them, and you can find us on Kickstarter every once in a while as well. Unlike Frank, you can find on Kickstarter constantly.
Aaron, I think you need a warning in front of your podcast to be like, you don't talk about beard care and like what beard combs you can get.
But we are willing to take beard sponsorships for lotions and balms and
yeah. Are you are there any plans for you guys to put something on Kickstarter or Indiegogo this year sometime?
A few more things. We have the Tilt motion comic. So Tilt's been out a little while now. And for guys that, by the way, if you guys don't know us, you can go to our website, catalystcomicstudio.com/join, and just send us your email and you get a free copy of Tilt #1, just a digital copy if you want to see what our superhero side of stuff. But we do a few different things. There's superheroes, some, I'm not going to say crime noir because that's stealing Frank's thunder. It is thriller. And then we do some horror stuff, and then for the rest of the year we have the Tilt motion comic, which is just going to come out on YouTube in June, leading up to Tilt 4 issue, which wraps up the whole first story arc. And then Paradigm #2 will be the end of this year. Is that all we have this year? That seems right. Yeah, that feels right. I think we just have 2 more coming out this year.
Cool. Awesome.
I'm just visiting the crime noir genre. I'm not gonna squat or anything in it. I'm just renting.
Same here, man. I got 3 issues in a spry thriller, and that's like, all right, I'm done. That's all I got in.
Been there, done that. Got the T-shirt.
Yep.
Am I next?
Yeah, Frank.
Yep.
Yeah, where can you find
this thing?
All right.
Frank the Writer. FrankTheWriter.com is my website. You can sign up for my mailing list too and hear all the awesome things that I have to say. At Frank the Writer is my Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, where I am constantly plugging my current Kickstarter for The Last Homicide, crime noir, hard-boiled detective story. And yeah, I enjoy talking about. I like to say I enjoy talking about writing comics, but instead we're talking about taxes and shipping rates. And
man, that's
let's not even talk about shipping rates. That hurts.
Yeah,
those words hurt.
All you gotta do is add international to the front of that, and then
stop.
Oh, yeah.
Shut up. Shut your mouth.
Oh, pain.
Dirty words.
$70 to ship. Yep. Yeah, $70 to ship $40 worth of books to England. Yeah, for him.
And then they have and then everybody complains about it on your Kickstarter. I don't understand why the shipping is so high.
I will try not adding international stuff. I don't understand why you guys don't offer international. Because you're going to complain about paying $25 extra for one single comic book.
No, we just hate everybody who isn't from America.
I have a couple people that international backers that back every single one of my campaigns, and God bless them, because it's I don't know how they do it. They pay shipping on every single one of those books.
Yeah, enjoy that single book.
All right, Aaron Berg. Yeah, what do you got for us? Where can we find your stuff?
Oh, right. Okay. For us, it's fairly easy in that our name, Heroinberg, is unique on the internet. So we have a website under that name, heroinberg.com. And we also sell, of course, our live action TV episodes as well. So you can go there and download the episodes, or you can buy a comic direct from the website. And also on the website, there's a list of slightly over 120 stores that we have on sale all over North America. So support your LCS if you're near a store. If you're in Lubbock or I don't know, Florence, South Carolina. If you're all over New Jersey, places like that, you'll probably find us in one of those stores. And so heroinberg.com for videos and comics. And
hey, which store in Florence?
I was just
Galactic. Man. They're the ones that do 150 a tilt every time we put one out.
They took 20 of ours. Yes.
Beautiful, super dude. Good. Dale is a good guy, man.
Beautiful guy, Dale. Yeah, definitely. Well, I was just giving that as an example. If you're near certain cities, you can find it automatically. So yeah, heroinberg.com, and then we have the exact same name for our Twitter, our Facebook, and our DeviantArt.
Good deal. Sweet. And I'm not going to worry about plugging my stuff. I plug my stuff all the time on this channel. So you guys know where to
watching
find
your
me.
Stream. You would hope that they.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
They know.
Nandor, I forgot our 20th live action episode comes out at the beginning of May. So.
Oh, cool. Good deal.
I mean, I do. Yeah. So.
Man, yeah, I'll have to check that out. That's really impressive, man. Like that's really cool, and that's something you guys are doing that's wholly unique and really cool to see. So I applaud you for doing that.
Almost wholly unique, until you realize that we were influenced by both Bill Black from FemForce and George Perez, who both had live action video series. So
cool.
In addition to their comic books, yeah. So,
nice.
Yeah, so it happens. Oh, and there's a North Carolina guy that did it for a while too. He called it Super Femmes, but he ran out of money. So,
right.
you know where Cary is? Cary, North Carolina. He lived there.
I mean, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where he was from.
Oh, man, never mind. We ain't even gonna go there. We're done with the stream.
I do want to say something that that was really exciting that happened this week, and I let the backers know this on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and just something I'm really excited to share with everyone. And I'm planning on doing a celebration stream with Anthony, who does the art for Seasons. We're gonna have a good time there. But this past week, he finished the art for Seasons Volume 2 Summer, and he
congratulations.
he had been working on that for a really long time. He was in the process of moving. He just had a kid. He's been super busy, and he really put a lot of time into it the past couple weeks. And while we're going to be, a little later than we expected for shipping it out to people, it's really worked out really well. And he like had just been working on this for a really long time. These books are over 100 pages, and they're a really big investment, ambitious graphic novel series that we're doing. And so we've been working on this volume for really for the last 2-3 years, going back and forth. And some hiccups came along the way, and we were wondering, man, are we even going to be able to finish this? And it's just such a big project. And so having it done and having all the pages completed, and we're working on the book design, getting the book ready for the printer and all that stuff. And it just was a huge relief and a huge blessing, and this feeling of like, holy crap, like we're doing it. And I gotta tell you guys, I'm just completely blown away by the way this book is going to look, and I don't want to like brag about it too much, but I'm really excited, and I'll be sharing it on social media, like pages and things we've been working on. But he's an incredible artist, and he's a masterful artist, and it's been a pleasure working with him. And this is like the best stuff that we've done together, and I can say that wholeheartedly, confidently, the best book that I've worked on, I've done, that's going to be coming out. And it was just so exciting, and it felt so good as the producer and the writer and the creator to have something finished and have see it completely. And I was going through all 100 pages this past week, going through all the art, editing, doing all that stuff. And I was just like, man, like this is a lot of work, but it's like so exciting. And I thought, I can't believe we have this, all ready to go. So that was one thing that happened this week that I was like, just like over the moon, and really excited about. And I think people are gonna get their minds blown in a lot of huge ways. So that's just something. And I do want to let people know, if you want to, Seasons Volumes 1 and 2 is still in demand on Indiegogo. So for people that are watching, if you want to go on Indiegogo, Seasons Volumes 1 and 2, you can get both volumes. They're hardcover volumes, over 100 pages, beautiful stuff. And we'll be sharing a lot of the artwork and a lot of the cool stuff coming up. But it was just, it's been a long time, so it felt really good to have it completed.
Congrats,
man. I'm looking at that campaign right now. $40 for both books. It's a good deal.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, over 100 pages, hardcover, quality, like beautiful stuff, and it's it's a thick book, and there's a lot of love in it. And
always breaking something on these streams, man.
Yeah, I know. Like, fortunately, we won't have the After Dark session tonight, so it'll be okay. It'll be okay. But it feels really good, and I can't wait to I signed up for a local convention in my area, and I'm really excited to go back to the con scene and premiere it there and show it off and stuff. But thank you guys, so much for being on tonight, and appreciate everyone watching and being a part of this. I love doing this, and I love talking to you guys. And I think, us writers and creators, we have a lot on our plate. We have a lot to do, a lot of things that we're juggling. And I think it's a really good thing that we can come together and talk about these things. And hopefully people can learn from us as we're still learning, because we don't have all the answers, but that's the point of this, is, trying to learn as much as we can and get better at what we're doing. And, I really wish all that mattered was making the best book possible. And in some ways it does, like, that's all that matters. But there's a lot of other things that go into it. And I think it's really important for us to talk about those things and share that with people and let them know, because it's a learning curve, and there's a lot to do and a lot to work on.
Adios.
All right. All right. We'll end the stream here. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we'll catch you in the next session.
Hail and farewell.